The Dayton Society of Interior Designers began in 1993 with a small group of dedicated interior design professionals who decided to establish an organization to promote the professional practice of interior design. Those who founded the society to meet a perceived need in their local industry had no idea of the legacy they'd begun.
In a recent conversation with founding member David Hyam, he remembered a group of designers getting together for cocktails and conversation. That evening, an idea was born to create a professional organization for designers. David said he had faith in the talent of students and professional designers in Dayton. And with that idea and hard work and determination, they created the Dayton Society of Interior Designers.
I think when this whole thing came about, it was purely out of a need to bring the design community together so there'd be some respected professionals within this given industry that could drive more business to interior design. And as I recall, a lot of this happened after I don't know which show house it was, but that's been a heck of a lot of years ago. But I do remember that David Hyam and I were really the two that drove the bus to bring it together initially, and we had a lot of buy-in from so many interested people, and I just think that there a camaraderie began, and it's a really good thing to see that it's still going forth today. And in fact, you shared the scholarship. I think that's wonderful that is going forth. But going back to those times, it just was really, everybody had a little different idea, I think. Everyone had their own agenda. They were running their own businesses. We had a lot of designers on staff that were in favor of it. So it was pretty easy, in my view, to bring it together. And I don't know that what I did in the beginning, I'm glad to see that it still exists today. And that's a tribute to all of you people. So I think it's great. If you were a design professional, you could belong to an organization that could probably give back to the area and hopefully be meaningful to people that could specify, like builders, like remodelers, that frankly could work with designers, because I don't think a lot of them had that idea about what it was, what a designer did. So that's how I recall it, and things started moving in the right direction.
My fond memories of DSID as it started was just a collaboration of the designers. We had all been friends, and we kind of came together because of a show house, and we have really become close friends, and people don't realize that we work off of each other. We give each other ideas. We use each other's sources. And that's what's been the great thing about DSID.
I was working at Stegman Interiors in the 1990s, and in 91, we had decided that it was time to promote the professionalism of interior design. So that's where the idea came for DSID.
Remembering the beginning of DSID, I remember we were at the restaurant on the river in downtown Dayton. It was after a show house, and several of us had gone there as a group to celebrate the show house opening and also vent our frustrations on some things that were happening throughout the show house. Back in the old days, we did so much of the work physically ourselves, paid for it, and didn't get quite as much cooperation as we have in these last few show houses with the Philharmonic Association. So that was really what brought us all together, and it just kind of evolved at that point. And we had officers, and the organization was up and moving. It was fun to get together after show houses because oftentimes we didn't see each other if there was not a show house going on or some type of a special project. So it started out as a small seed and has grown into a beautiful organization now that we reach out, and people are pretty familiar with the Dayton Society of Interior Designers, both here in town and some people a little further out as well. And we often get admiration from organizations that scratch their head and say, your competitors, how do you come together and form an organization and actually support each other? But we do, and it's been quite successful, I'm proud to say.
Over the years, members of DSID would participate in a wide array of shows and events, employing their skills and developing relationships within the group. The society would go on to initiate events of its own, establishing itself as a prominent contributor to the interior design community.
DSID as an organization and as individual designers, we have been involved in show houses by the DPVA. I personally have done 12. We've also been involved in Homerama in the past, where we are taking on a house and we each do a space like we do with show house. Also, we did a couple charity houses for HBA. Then we've also got involved with the Home and Garden Show that was held for many years out at the Convention Center.
Show houses is a tremendous amount of work. It's a lot of money for us to put them on, but truly we all love doing it. We have fun watching each other as our rooms develop and you see things coming and going, and we become very close. We also have done some show houses on our own. That was not affiliated with the Philharmonic. There was the Loft Apartments. They were on East 3rd Street, and we each took an apartment and did that, and that was a lot of fun.
Another thing that happened, and that was thanks to John C.'s connections again, because he had his finger on the pulse of everything that was happening in Dayton. And we were able to partner with Home Builders Association, and they were doing a City-Rama project. And it featured, I believe it was 6 different properties, the main one being the cannery. And that was being developed into individual housing units from an old building. And we, among all of those properties that were on the tour, we were able to do, I think, 24 different spaces. So 24 different design firms designed spaces in all of those different properties. And the total attendance was somewhere around 12,000 people. It was a huge project and got wide coverage in local magazines and newspaper and television. So we really, were part of a huge project that got our name out there. So that was really good.
Memories of the show houses. We won the first winner of House Beautiful, which was exciting, and I had some to do with that. I was still pretty new at Centerville Design at the time. And then we won a second time a couple years later. Funny, I had a dream about that last night. And we won again. That one I had a lot to do with. That was at the Veterans, the 2 homes that we did at the Veterans, whatever.
Show house was always the thing that brought all the designers together in town, the excitement, of that every 2 years. And certainly at the very beginning, it was something that we did a lot of physical work in. We were hanging paper, we were painting walls, we were stripping paper, we were cleaning, scrubbing, all kinds of things. And that was the fun part. I can remember people staying late, or working on the weekends, and you come in with your buckets and your brooms and your rags, and here you are, this interior designer, but you're scrubbing the floor and cleaning the toilets. Not so much of that anymore with the show houses now, because they have the Philharmonic has evolved enough that they hire people to do some of that stuff, and that's been partly because of DSID. We've shown them that our value our value is to them on these programs. So that was always a fun time at the beginning, the old show houses, because you got to see your competitors or your friends, working alongside of you, making it happen. And then of course the night the show house opened, you're there in your pretty dresses and your tuxedos, and everyone's really enjoying what their room turned out to be, and how the house turned out as a whole. So the show houses again have really evolved over the years. Some beautiful homes here in the Dayton area that we've been able to really have people see and bring them around to see what we can do, not only as individuals, but as a group and an organization.
Most of the show houses that I worked on, I did with someone else. Either when my mom was in the business, when we were doing it together, we would do it together, or I did a couple with other decorating den owners. We did some spaces together, and that was fun. I did one space just myself, and that was that, and I don't even remember the house. I think it was maybe the old Reich house. So I don't know. Jeannie can name those things off like nobody's business, but my mind goes fuzzy with the dates and the actual houses. But I did a laundry room in that house, and I had got so much fulfillment, enjoyment out of doing that space by myself, and I thought it turned out beautiful, and was just happy that people could come through and look at it, and they liked it, and it made me feel validated in a way. I mean, so yeah, doing those show houses was also a way of a little bit of camaraderie builder for our group as well, because when you're in there at odd hours, late at night, you're tired, and there's always some challenge going on with those productions that you kind of share your stories and your miseries, and it brings us all closer together when we did those.
The leadership of DSID has been as diverse as its membership. Over their respective terms, each president of the society has brought a different perspective to the group and left a unique impression through their contributions.
When I became president of DSID, I was interested in furthering kind of the connections between members, and then also trying to think of ways that we could become even more visible in the wider community. And so one of the things we did was develop a website so that we could have kind of a central thing that people could go to that would explain what DSID was about and would feature each of the designers on the site. And we continue that website today.
Several things that were added throughout the presidencies of DSID, both by the board and the actual president, whoever was president during that term. I think one of the most important things to me was the relationship with St. Clair and the mentoring program that we do with the students. Each year we take students and pair them up with a designer, and they follow that designer through their quarter or semester, depending on which it is, and gets a feel of what it's like to be out there in the real world as a designer, not just behind the scenes, behind the books. So often they don't get the experience of meeting with a customer and following a project through, and I know several of us have had relationships with students that goes above and beyond once they're graduated, and we get to see what they do and where they end up in their career paths. So that's very exciting to me that we not only establish that program, but continue that program. Of course, scholarships are another one that rate very high up there with everyone, not only to our students at Sinclair, but we've reached out to Ohio State. We've given scholarships to University of Cincinnati, Bowling Green, I think. So any student that lives or has a relationship here in the Dayton area is able to participate in that program. And that's just an evening that is wonderful. Our friends at Snyder Brick and Block have hosted that from the beginning. They put on a beautiful dinner. We have the students there with their parents or significant other, and present them with a scholarship, a couple little gifts from DSID, and it's just a lovely evening, always an evening that everyone enjoys being at.
Well, I was president from January 2016 through December 2019. And I'm sure, like a lot of people who, are asked to take on a leadership role like that, I was hesitant at first, but it was such a valuable experience, and I'm so glad I did it. But one of the challenges that we had in our organization at the time was, just a little bit of wanting to bring our group a little closer together. People's businesses and lives kept them sometimes from always being able to attend meetings, and that's totally understandable. So during my time as president, one of our goals was to try to boost people's interest in our organization and their participation. And so we tried to do a lot of extracurricular type things to bring people together, members together in a more social kind of way, as well as our business meetings. So we did a few activities like, we had that art night at Mike Elsas's studio where we all created art together. And I think the people who attended that loved it and had fun. We did a tour at the Formica plant, which was eye-opening to me and super cool. We went to the Westcott House together. And of course we had that was the time when we were doing our Halloween parties at Benham's Grove, which was so fun. So I feel like those things were an added activity for the group that helped out and was really fun.
As our organization grew, it became apparent to me as president that it was important not only to include the local design community, but to bring in perhaps up and coming designers, which would mean students that are now in school, and to allow them a membership spot in our organization. And then as that idea developed, it was also important to include many of our resources as industry partners. And so under my presidency, we developed 3 different levels of membership, if you will: student membership, and then those who are not quite at the professional level that are still learning the business but are done with school. So they had an associate member, and then we had professional members. Then we opened it up to industry partners, and the industry partner level evolved into 3 different levels to allow the industry partner to choose how they partnered with us. So there was the basic level of silver, which was one level where they partner with us, certainly are invited to all of our functions, the gold level, and then the platinum level. The reason why the platinum level was so special for us is because one of our core mission statement items is to give scholarship students. And I have been involved in the scholarships since almost the inception of that concept with our organization. And this allowed our industry partners to finance more scholarships for us. And so it really became a twofold situation. It allowed us to grow our membership, but it also allowed us to finance scholarships, which were very important to us. And to this day, that one particular meeting in the year is incredibly special to our organization and the community.
The society grew to benefit not only its members, but the community at large. Associate members, students, industry partners, and industry craftsmen became an important part of the group's identity and a hallmark of the society in the Dayton community.
We've been very involved in Sinclair College, the design students, and we've done scholarships through that, which I think has been great. We've given a lot of money. I can't even tell you the thousands that we've given to students for scholarships. One of my big scholarships was $5,000, and I remember way back thinking, oh my gosh, and that was a memorial scholarship. Jan Berry, who was a designer, passed away, and we started a scholarship for her.
The other item that I think has really benefited both our organization and the community as a whole is the relationship we have with our industry partners. That's something I think I kind of tied in. I think it was Beth or I tied that in with how the home builders do that, where they have associate members that play into the organization. For example, painters or our friends at Snyder, our friends at Backrath play into that. They've always been good supporters of it. Some of the appliance gallery has always been another one that has been a good supporter of DSID. And these are just organizations that we use with our customers that we find very valuable for both them and us to be part of the organization. And it also gives the industry craftsmen those paper hangers and painters, and we have a new member now who manufactures shutters here in town. Those people a chance to intermix with the designers and become aware of what their product needs are, and we become aware of what services they offer. So all of these little things that have kind of been added into DSID over the years has really made the organization the success it is today.
Having that community connection raises our status a little bit as a group, and makes us a more serious in the eyes of the community and potential clients that we may have, and any potential new members, whether they be professional or the industry partners that might want to join in on us when they see that we're, part of our mission is to reach out to the community and help in that way.
Perhaps more than any other aspect of DSID, the relationships built within the group have left a lasting impact on its members. Within DSID sprouted a culture of mutual support and respect, which would lead to a greater recognition of the design profession in the Dayton community.
For me, the most important thing about DSID has been the camaraderie of the design community in the Dayton area. This organization has allowed us to come together as friends and colleagues and share ideas and resources that we might not normally have had access to. And that's incredibly important for an independent interior designer.
Working together as a group, we feed off of each other. I will say, since DSID has come along, we all look out for each other.
Before long, I felt connection with so many in the group, and it just really is a booster to feel like, the people that are doing the same thing you do every day are your friends, and you can reach out to them or just share, war stories with them or whatever. And so that's been the biggest thing for me, just the camaraderie of everyone in the group.
The Dayton Society of Interior Designers sought to recognize members demonstrating outstanding leadership in the interior design profession. The Design Leadership Award is granted to such members to reflect and celebrate their body of work. A long-term member and past president of DSID, John C., passed away in 2020. He embodied the values of the society through his strong vision and active involvement in the community and industry. His contributions and friendship are remembered fondly by the DSID members as well as the Dayton community.
We've had designers come and go in our organization, and one person was John C., who was the president of DSID, and he passed away this last year. And he was a big instigator in getting the organization going, and I enjoyed that about John. He really loved this group of people and loved being involved in it. We could always count on him as far as coming up with another project. He was very active with the Philharmonic. He was active we did portfolio reviews for Sinclair College. John kind of got that instigated, so I always liked running things by him. But he had worked at several places, but he had been on his own for about 10 years, I think. And sometimes I think I would tell him, I said, it's kind of nice to be on your own. He said, well, it gets a little lonely when you're just by yourself on it. I said, well, just come over any time. And he would stop in and we'd talk shop.
My first memory of John was when he had the business down in Springboro. Him and Bob had, it was called Robert John Interiors. And I had gone in there as a young designer. I was still in school, I think, or just graduating. And he had a beautiful little shop down in Springboro. We became close friends, obviously, because we had so much in common. And John ended up working for me for about 10 years. We had 2 different locations, and he was with me from the beginning. And we had a great time. He was there through pregnancies, kids, all kinds of crazy stories we did, show houses. He was always so fun at the show houses because he always coordinated his tuxedo with whatever color was in the room. So we had a purple tuxedo and always made sure that we all got together and dressed up and celebrated those show houses. He was certainly a big fan and a big proponent of DSID, had a special place in his heart. And he also brought us close into Preservation Dayton. That was his, towards the end there, that was his favorite kind of relationship, to kind of pair the 2 of us together, which I know Sharon has continued to continue that relationship. And I think that's another valuable step that we'll see that will become part of our organization. But that was due to John, and we miss him.
John C. was a founding member of DSID, and when he became president, he had a strong vision about what he wanted to accomplish. The historic district was very important to John. He and his partner Bob lived in one of the historic districts, and he was very active in Preservation Dayton and knew all of the people who were making exciting things happen and bringing the city of Dayton back to life, to revitalizing some of the old neighborhoods. John had the idea that we could do a show house. And so the first one we did was in one of the historic districts, and about 16 design firms participated, and it was quite a success. And then about a year later, we did a federal house out in Brant, out in the country. And again, a number of design firms participated, and we started getting a lot of coverage in the newspaper. And again, it was a success. And then in the year 2000, we took on our most ambitious project, and that was a a restoration that was happening to an old warehouse in Dayton that became the Ice Street Lofts. And we did 3 condo units in the lofts. And again, about that many design firms participated. So we were doing three condo spaces. So we obviously had to collaborate. And that was one of the great building things that happened. It was important to him that we become friends and we learn how to cooperate and work together. And some of those lofty goals that DSID started with were really coming into play there through John's leadership. John was my mentor and my friend, and he was very important to growing DSID.
In the 30 years since its founding, the Dayton Society of Interior Designers has made an enormous impact on the professional practice of interior design in Dayton, as well as the broader community. 3 decades of successful shows, community involvement, and lasting relationships have formed a foundation for even more outstanding contributions in the years to come.
I think it's pretty amazing that this group, that was kind of cobbled together in the beginning by, a few people who had some vision, and, they built it to something pretty special that, when you talk to other designers, other cities, other states, and I have a lot of connections to other designers and decorating them in other areas of the country, and nobody else has anything like we have. And we're really lucky to have it. And the fact that here we are 30 years later, still going strong, is a testament to that early vision and to, just the connections that all of us Dayton designers have built together, and, that we still want to see it continue is something really special.
And I think of all the people that started it that are no longer here. And I think when we started this, had no idea we'd go for 30 years. But we've always put back as much as we can to Dayton. We try to put back into the community. And that's what I like about this organization.
I've been a member of DSID since its beginning, and my hope is that it continues on into the future. It's been a great place to learn things about the design business, to support one another, to work on projects together, to form lasting friendships.
It's hard to believe it's been 30 years. It doesn't seem like that, but I can remember it has been. And certainly we have done a lot of wonderful things over the years, had a lot of successes, have met a lot of people, have really done some great projects together. Our seminar days down at the Women's Club has always been a success. We've had a few of those that have been nice for the members. Design is changing. This whole industry is changing a lot due to our Facebooks, our Howls, our Pinterest groups. So it'll be interesting to see where DSID fits into all this as we get a little bit older through the years. We don't have those big department stores like we used to. When we first graduated and came out, you had your Macy's, your Biermans, your Stegmans, all those large stores that had a design staff. You don't have that anymore. So it's a little harder, I think, for the independent designer to get up and get started running in a business. However, there are other avenues you can take with that, incorporating maybe more dimensional drawing, more consulting. I think that's where we're going to kind of see our industry going to. I will certainly be here supporting DSID all the way, and hope to see some new things happen with our new election coming up this year and new membership. So it's an organization that's very dear to my heart.
The business doesn't ever leave you. It is always there. And the good part about that and seeing an organization that can be driven this number of years is the fact that there is a continuing need by that consumer, and as long as you can offer a professional service through this group, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you continue to do these things for the future? So I think it's strong, and it's good to hear.
That was the idea, and we have really grown over the last 30 years. Thanks to our past presidents who have brought new things to the table. I just hope that the new officers coming in can really continue to make it grow, and hopefully for another 30 years.